Hey everyone! In my last video, I shared with you many tips and tricks on how to save time when card making. In today's video, I put some of those tips to the test because I wanted to show you it could be done. So I made these 13 cards, in today's video, okay? Putting those tips and tricks to the test. So let's get right to it. So these are the backgrounds that I made in my last video about time-saving tips for the card makers. I've got the panels that I created, the watercolored backgrounds, and the alcohol ink backgrounds. I also have my magic mug full of everything I'm going to be using today. And if you don't know what I'm referring to, then I do encourage you to check out my last video. I'm linking it up here in the right for you. And these are also some things that I stamped and cut late last night that are sitting underneath the mug because they're too big to fit inside the mug, but I'm keeping it all together. So these are the two backgrounds that I created in my time-saving video. So all I really have to do is add some kind of sentiment and they'll be turned into cards. So you can handwrite your sentiments if you have good handwriting, which I do not. And that would, I mean, talk about easy. Just handwrite something really quick and put in an envelope and you're done. But I'm going to grab some stamp sets that I have in my stash. I'm using everything I have in my stash. I encourage you to use what you have in your stash. I am linking everything I'm using in the description below for you in case you're interested in checking out these products. So I decided to stamp the sentiments one diagonally, kind of up the border, and then here I'm just going to stamp, I chose a wider sentiment, and I can just stamp it right here in black ink. Now, this was a twofer. This was a 2-for-1 from my last video, time-saving tip, twofers. So to finish off that, I'm just going to take a black pen and kind of trace a line there just to add somewhat of a border, and then these two cards are done. Bada bang, bada boom. All right, these are two backgrounds also created in the last video. This one here is pattern paper, and the card to the right is washi tape. So I'm going and pulling into my magic mug. Now what I do is I literally take my mug and I dump everything out. So everything I have to work with is scattered all over my desk, kind of surrounding the frame of my video picture here. So you can't see all the mess. You might could see some of it in the top hand right hand corner. But that makes it easy for me. It's all spread out, but I know that I can only use what I have in front of me, which makes it easy peasy. So I found a flower, I found a sentiment, and wada bang, wada boom, I'm able to pull this card together. All the finishing touches are just adhering these to card bases. So this card took no time at all because that background had already been previously created at another time. And I love that flower and how those colors pop against that background. Here is the washi tape background. These are coffee cups. I remember I sat down and made a whole bunch of coffee stuff. So these are all leftover images and die cuts and things that I didn't use. So they went into the cup. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this card together very easily as well. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. I adore Skillshare. I have a whole playlist of classes that I have taken from Skillshare. In the description below, I have a special link for you all. The first 500 people to click on that link will get Skillshares free for 2 months, which is awesome. Skillshare is very inexpensive. It's less than $10 a month. If you wanted to extend beyond the free 2 months I'm offering you, it's definitely worth it. They have so many different classes, cooking, I mean, all kinds of stuff. I could have a whole video talking to you about all the stuff that I've taken from Skillshare, but that's not what this video is about. But I did want to thank them for sponsoring and make sure that you know that you can get 2 months for free by clicking on that link. So I've gone ahead and assembled the coffee mugs. I'm going in with a black pen to give it some final details, which is a great thing to also do. You may have already previously created some backgrounds or colored some images, but there's nothing wrong with going in and adding a little something something. I'm also taking that black pen and coloring in the coffee or tea, whatever you want to make it. And this card is done. This card. I am really sorry because I had to tear this card apart. So much went wrong, but look how cute it is, right? You're going to see exactly what happened. So these are 3 backgrounds that I made in my last video, and all this stuff is in front of me. I'm trying to figure out what works together. That looked too Christmassy to me, so that was not going to fly. But this, I love. The green and the yellow, I am loving together. So I'm going to go ahead and pop up that big, huge image onto this background. I love this stamp and die. I just got it last night, which is why these made it to the magic cup, because I stamped them and die cut them very late last night. I just love this. So here's where things are going to go awry with this card. So I thought that I would just glue this sentiment down right there, center it in that image, and call this card done, but nope. Mm-mm. That is absolutely not what happened. So I'm adding little dots of glue. This is the glue that is great. You have some wiggle room. Usually with most liquid glues, you have some wiggle room to kind of move it around, but once it sets, it sets. It's done. You ain't moving it. So here I am. First of all, I did notice that I put it on. It is not straight, but I was going to just roll with it. I was going to keep going, but then I decided to add little dots. So I had lost the die cut dots for my eyes. Did you know those are called tittles? The little dots on the eyes are called tittles. Well, I lost my tittles, okay? So I decided to put on Nuvo drops. I smeared them. They look awful, and I can't do that. I can't fix that. So I'm going to rip off the die cut. Thank God the glue had not set yet, but I'm left with all that yit all over it. So this sentiment coming from the cup, of course, is I'm really sorry. I mean, it totally fits what's going on right now. I'm so sorry, little card. But I can't leave it like that because that sentiment just sitting there looks silly. So I'm looking in my cup. What do I have in there? And I had this pattern paper. Perfect, perfect. And literally how I'm talking right now is what was going through in my mind at this time. I'm like, all right, that works. Okay, let's see. Do I want to glue that down? Okay, that looks good. It's wide enough to cover all that goop in the back. So I'm going to cover that right up. All right, okay. Let me stick that on there. Let me make sure I'm centering it. And I am. I'm really sorry. I should be apologizing to you guys for this video. It still needed a little something something. So I found some black card strips. Never throw away your black card strips. Ever, ever, ever. And I'll adhere that down. And now I'm happy. All is right in the world with this card. I'm just going to take my scissors, which could be used as a weapon for home intruders. Beware. And cut off the excess. And there you have it. I'm going to adhere this down to a card base, and this card is done. And it actually turned out quite lovely, I think, even after having to rip it apart. Nothing's wrong with a little card surgery, I tell ya. All right, so moving on, I've got another plaid background here I created in the last video, and I'm just going to start pulling things together. I'm going to take one quick second and ask you to please subscribe and click that notification bell below. I would love to have you as part of my channel. So I'm again looking around with what's on my desk and I'm figuring out what colors go, what's going to work for me. I don't follow color theory or rules of three or anything like that. I'm a visual person. If it looks good to me, I like it. I mean, it might not look good to you, but I guess what matters is it looks good to me and I'm the one making it. So if I'm happy, if it brought me joy, I'm rolling with it. And this little color combination, which I would have never put together ever without seeing all these little bits and pieces and being able to layer it and look at it, I would have never put these colors together. Purple and orange, I'm sure they go on the color chart. I don't know, but I was totally drawn to this. So the Stamp and Die, the die has multiple dies that cut out different bits of this one big stamp, and I love it because you can really do a lot with one Stampin' Wet die. And I love products that are versatile, that you can do lots of things with. You can really stretch your budget that way by making sure that you buy wisely. So check this out. I've got teal, I got purple, I got orange. What else I got going in there? I'm about to have some more black. You guessed it. Of course, I'm going to do a black sentiment because I'm boring, but it's what I like. And this might be one of my favorite cards, seriously. And I wouldn't have put these colors together. I'm not really an orange person. I don't even like orange pumpkins. I like the candy, the little pumpkins, that you can sometimes get with the candy corns. I do like that. And that's orange, so that's something. So anyway, again, I'm going to take my weapon of choice here, my scissors, and cut off the excess. And I'm going to adhere that down to a card base. And I thought this card could use a little something, something, just a little something, something. So I'm going to grab my We Are Memory Keepers corner rounder and just round the corners. I'm going to use the 1/4 inch setting. This one has a 1/2 inch setting and a 1/4 inch setting. Of course, this picture doesn't show the corners now, does it? Ah, Laurel, Laurel, Laurel. But anyway, the corners are rounded. Poor photography choice. All right, so moving on. Here's all these beautiful alcohol inked backgrounds that I made eons. I made them before I lived in New York, so these are old, but I love them. And I actually remember making this one. I remember making all those circles. I will link to a playlist up in the corner right here. It's an alcohol ink playlist, and I made all these backgrounds in my videos if you want to check out how I did that. So this one, I love the background. It speaks. I don't feel like you need to do much, and that's another great thing about pre-made backgrounds. In most instances, you just really are working on how to add a sentiment or something like that, right? And that's what I'm doing here. So I am going to heat emboss, and this is Yupo paper. Okay, this is very delicate paper. You can heat emboss on Yupo. You just have to be careful. You can't keep your heat gun in the same place. So what I do is I was actually going to heat emboss in black, but I figured you guys are so sick of seeing black sentiment, so I'm actually going to use some gold embossing powder. And I'm going to sprinkle that on there. I'm going to make sure my heat tool is heated up. I use the Wow heat tool, so it really heats up like as soon as you turn it on. And I'm just going to constantly have my gun moving. I'm going to move it. I'm going to keep taking it away from the paper. I'm going to heat the front side. I'm going to heat the back side. And if I keep moving it and keep switching from the front and the back, I'm going to be able to melt that embossing powder beautifully, and my Yupo paper will hold its shape. If you keep your heat tool in the same spot for more than a couple of seconds, your Yupo paper, which is a common paper to use with alcohol inks, is going to shrink up and shrivel up, and you will not be able to use it no more. All right, ask me how I know that. Just ask me. All right, so here is a wreath I watercolored. Oh gosh, this is very old too. I did this at my last house when I lived in Connecticut. So this is quite old. So I am going to go ahead and use the sentiment from the magic mug, pop that up with some foam dimension, and that's all that card needed. It did not need anything else. So in theory, the card that I made today took like 4 seconds. But I did watercolor that background in another time, so you can add the time to that. But still, you can see how I would not normally be able to pull out 14 or 15 cards in 30 minutes. But because all these backgrounds were pre-made, I was able to do that. We will count the cards at the end of this video because I'm not really sure how many I made. So these are some flowers I colored. Again, grabbed a sentiment from the magic mug, glued it down, and this is like boring. I need to do something else. So I found also some, I don't know if that's pattern paper or something I stamped, and it's kind of like a remnant of something I stamped. I don't know, but it went into the mug, and I'm glad it did because I'm just going to glue this down again flat, and I'm liking that addition of plaid or stripes or whatever pattern we're calling this. I'm liking how that looks. I have not done any paint flicking in this video or my last couple of videos, which is such a shame because I do it all the time. So I'm going to flick on some black paint flicking. We're going to flick it on there. So I'm going to add some black dots because my florals needed some centers. And then I'm going to take some black paint and just flick it on there. You can do this with paint, with ink, anything like that. Just it makes it a little bit more artsy, and it pulls more of that black into the image. And I love this card. I love how it turned out. It's pretty, isn't it? All right, moving on. What do we got? What do we got? We're still going to work with some alcohol ink. So this is a panel that I previously made and shared on the last video. And I ran this through my die cutting machine. This is a die from Altenew called Happy. Again, everything I use, I do link below in case you want to check out those products. And I'm just going to, I figured let's keep the alcohol ink moving, right? I'm going to take that Happy and I'm going to adhere it to another alcohol ink panel that I created. I just like the colors together. So I'm going to use that glue and I'm going to add little dots, and I'm just going to adhere that straight down to that alcohol ink panel. Now this is also going to be a twofer because I'm going to end up using the panel that I die cut the word happy from for my next card. I love twofers. It's actually one of my time saving hacks in my last video. Those little 2 cards I made at the very beginning of the video, that was a twofer. I love getting 2-for-1s. So I'm going to adhere that down. Now, thank God this glue is clear, which is why I use it, because it kind of smeared out of place. But not to worry, no glue is going to show. It's going to dry completely clear, and it's going to dry completely strong. This is that glue that once it sets, it sets. That baby is not going anywhere. So I'm going to add a little, it could be happy adoption, happy birthday, happy days lie ahead whenever we can get out of our house and we're not on lockdown. So I'm going to stamp the word birthday in black. Yes, in black. I know, but you know, I'm boring. I don't know what to say. So I'm going to adhere this down to a brown card panel or card base. But that black birthday, that word is just like, it doesn't go. It's like, I need something. I need more black in the card. So I'm going to grab my black pen and I'm just going to etch a little border right along the edges there. And I feel like that little extra step that took seconds really ties the black together and pulls everything together. So here is the twofer. Here is the bonus card. That is what was left over from the happy that I die cut and added to the card right before. So here I just die cut that same word happy again with some gray cardstock, and I'm going to basically piece this card together. I decided to go with teal. There isn't any teal on that alcohol ink background, but I don't care. I really liked the teal popping through, so that's what I'm doing. I'm such a rule breaker, aren't I? Whew. I'm living on the edge of my pants. Anyway, is that the saying? I'm living on the, what's the saying? Somebody tell me. Anyway, clearly I don't know the saying, so I'm not that wild. So I adhered the alcohol ink panel, the negative space down, and now I'm going to take the gray cardstock, add the same glue. This is that Barely glue that I love so much too. So these are the two glues that I use all the time. I alternate between the two. Whatever's closest to my hand is what I reach for. And then I'm going to go ahead and piece in that word happy. You could do any color. I could have die cut this with yellow and still loved it, even though there's no yellow on that card. Whatever. Do what you like. So now this is all adhered and put together. I'm going to leave this one blank because I can always go in and add a little sentiment strip whenever I have an occasion that calls for it. Like I'm going to probably be like, happy days are here, thank God, because I can leave my house once, the quarantine is over. So I'm just going to leave this card. This is actually like a blank card. So I can go ahead and customize this however I see fit when the occasion calls for it. But I am going to add a little bit of glitter with this glitter pen from Nuvo. Nothing's wrong with a little sparkle every now and then, and this is a great way to just really oomph up any words that you have that you want to kind of pop off the page there, so it's nice and sparkly and happy. And check out this card. Oh my God, that background, you guys. That background is everything. All right, these are the last two cards, and I did pause to count how many cards we're going to have by the end of this video, and we're going to have a baker's dozen, 13. Now, when I'm done with this video, I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to find out why it's called a baker's dozen, because I have no idea why they call it a baker's dozen and it's not 12. So I'll be Googling that. So anyway, here's a watercolor panel created eons ago. All I'm going to do here is stamp a sentiment, but I'm going to do it in gray, not black, gray. See, I can wean myself from black sentiments from time to time. I'm going to go ahead and adhere this down to a very light gray card base that I didn't even know I had this color. This color is really quite pretty. And that's it. I'm going to add a little bit of centers, the florals need centers. I could have used a black pen, but apparently I wanted to use some Nuvo, and I had cut that tip off. I do not know why, so I'm going to use the tip of a paintbrush to add the little dots to the center of my flowers. But again, I could have just done a pen and gotten the same look. I guess I really wanted the Nuvo at that time. And then I'm going to take a black paint pen and add a little black accents here and there in some of the other areas. And then that's it. That's going to pull this card together. And this is, look at this. So pretty. And now we're on to our final card. This is a long video for me, guys. Did you hang with me? I want to know. If you hung with me, stay until the very end. I gotta know. I gotta know, and leave me a comment. So here I am just going to ink up the sentiment in brown. Looky, looky, I did not do black. I decided to do brown to tie in with a floral center there. I went ahead and double stamped it. Thank God I had my MISTI because I didn't stamp it perfectly the first time. I am going to trim my panel down a little bit so it'll fit on a pink card base, but I'll have that nice border. All of my panels always start at 4¼ wide by 5½ long, and then I can start trimming them down as needed. So in this instance, I trimmed down that panel to 4 by 5¼ so then I have that pretty pink border around the edge of my card. I have a video right below, click on it. It's 10 different ways to use the same background die. I think you'll really like it. It's definitely a way that you can stretch that one die and really make your purchase count. So be sure to check it out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys again very soon.